After cheating, you continue to live together, but there is no chance for your relationship to improve. You have a small child who is attached to both of you and will have a hard time accepting the separation. What is the way out of this situation? I have suspicions that the affair is not over yet.
This is just an incredibly delicate and emotionally charged situation, isn't it? Not just for the partners, but especially for the child who was caught right in the middle. From a psychological perspective, there are no simple, easy answers here. But what we can do is explore the different pathways, the ones that lead toward the healthiest possible outcome for everyone.
There's this really powerful idea in our culture, right? That for a child's sake, parents absolutely must stay together no matter what. It's this deeply ingrained belief that keeping the family unit under one roof automatically equals stability.
But we have to pause and ask a really critical question. Is that assumption always true? Is the simple fact of living in the same house the most important factor for a child's well-being? Let's dig into that a little deeper.
This brings us to the reality of what's going on inside the home. We need to shift our focus from just the physical structure of the family to the actual emotional environment. What a child truly lives with and absorbs every single day.
So look at this. This really shows the gap between what we think is happening and what's actually happening. On one side, you've got the assumption, staying together provides stability. But the psychological reality for a child in a high-conflict home is just the opposite. It's constant tension and emotional insecurity. Children are like emotional sponges. They are so perceptive. They feel the unspoken anger, the distrust, the sadness, and that can be far more damaging than a physical separation.
This brings us to the most critical perspective of all, the child's. Their primary need isn't just for two parents in the same house. What they need, fundamentally, is psychological safety.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. All the research in developmental psychology is crystal clear on this. The emotional atmosphere a child grows up in has a far greater impact on their well-being than the physical arrangement of where their parents live. A calm, predictable environment is absolutely everything.
And when that safety is missing, well, the risks are pretty significant. A home that's filled with unresolved conflict can lead to anxiety, to behavioral issues, and even deep-seated problems with forming trusting relationships later in life. It essentially teaches a child that home is not a secure base, but a place of stress.
So what can be done? It's not about finding a single right answer. It's really about exploring constructive paths forward. So let's look at 4 potential ways to approach a decision, and each one is focused on minimizing harm and fostering long-term well-being.
These paths are: 1. Setting up a coordinated co-parenting plan. 2. Getting psychological support for the child. 3. Seeking personal therapy for yourself. And 4. Clarifying the true status of the relationship.
Okay, so path number 1 is about reframing what separation even means. The goal here isn't just to have one chaotic home split into 2, it's to create 2 calm, stable homes. This means parents work together, even while living apart, acting as a parenting team to maintain regular, positive contact with really clear schedules.
It is also absolutely vital to support the child directly. A child psychologist can provide a safe, neutral space for them to process all of these big changes. This can help them understand that a separation is not their fault, and, most importantly, that it doesn't mean a loss of love from either parent.
You know the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup? Well, it's so true. For the person who has been betrayed, personal therapy is crucial. It's a space to process the anger, the grief, and the anxiety. And doing that allows for much clearer decision-making that's based on long-term well-being, not just on immediate emotional reactions.
And finally, path number 4 is all about getting clarity. Before any permanent decisions get made, you need to know what reality you're actually working with. If there are suspicions that an affair is still going on, it's important to address them calmly, away from the child, and maybe even with the help of a neutral mediator.
All of these different pathways really point toward one central guiding principle. If you take away only one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. Here it is. 2 calm, consistent parents living apart can provide a far healthier and more stable environment for a child than 2 parents living together in a state of constant conflict. Real stability for a child comes from emotional consistency, not from a shared address.
So ultimately, the question isn't how do we stay together, but rather what choice, what path will best serve the long-term psychological well-being of both my child and myself. Focusing on that goal is really the most compassionate and constructive way forward.